Welcome everybody to our coverage of the Lake George Scrabble tournament. Thanks for waiting. Thanks for your patience. We'll have Scrabble underway in just a minute. The players are getting seated and ready to go. If you're unfamiliar with me, I am Matt Canik. I've done significant Scrabble commentary in the past, including this summer on the Scrabble Players Championship and a number of other tournaments. And I'm joined today by Charles Reinke. Charles, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Matt. How are you doing?
I'm excited for this tournament. You know, it's been a while since we've had a lot of good Scrabble on the internet. Actually, as I was getting Quackle up and running to get this tournament in our commentary underway, I had to take the previous names I had out, and that was David Eldar and Harshan, who played in the World Championship in a best of seven. That was fireworks all the way through. So this will be my first time on the headset since watching that epic 7-game showdown. And I'm looking forward to more Scrabble here as well. For those tuning in, this is a 15-game tournament. We're not going to see any of that crazy 8 games a day over and over and over type stuff. We'll have 3 games tonight, and then 8 games, I believe, tomorrow, 4, and then a break, and then 4 more. And then that last day, we'll have 4 additional games Sunday morning. And that's it. That's the whole tournament. So 15 games of action. Tonight, we are doing NWL Division 1. Tomorrow morning, NWL, and we plan on doing a little Division 1 and also a little Division 2. Get some extra exposure out there. Tomorrow afternoon will be Collins action, and we will see on day 3. No promises either way. We'll have Charles back in the on the headset on that third day, and Charles can take either dictionary. So we will give you whatever's the most exciting on Sunday. Charles, have you ever played in this Lake George event before?
I have not, but looking at this field, I kind of wish I was this year and making me regret missing it past years as well.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but awesome stuff about this tournament. From what I understand, that the like mountains are about to shut down for the holidays, and we come in that very last weekend before they shut down for the snow, and just kind of throw a big party there and play a bunch of Scrabble, and it's beautiful, and the leaves are changing color, and it's hard to believe it's fall. I mean, I'm here in Texas where it's still 95 degrees today, but apparently the weather's good out there somewhere. So I've never played one of these either. I really want to one day. I looked at buying tickets like 6 days ago when I saw the field, and I just kind of got this FOMO. It's like, Matt, no, you're going to do commentary. You're going to stay home. And alas, here we are. But hey, maybe next year I'll make it out. Maybe you in the chat can make a resolution with me, and we'll all make it out to Lake George next year. Fun stuff. We're behind the scene, just got to get one final component up and running, and we will have the Scrabble underway. Until then, y'all are stuck with me and Charles. So Charles, putting you on the spot, can you make a bold prediction for this tournament? It can be about any division, anything at all. Just go bold.
I have a feeling that we might see some unexpected success from some players in the columns field. I expect some upset wins. I expect some players high up in the rankings that maybe by rating we wouldn't expect them to be there. Not saying who, but I've taken a look at the columns field, made my internal judgments of how I feel those players might perform, and I don't know if that qualifies as a bold prediction, but that is my medium level take for at least the Collins field. Matt, do you have any thoughts on NWL?
I was looking at the field, and honestly, like it feels like this might be Jackson Smiley's tournament to lose. Looking at the entrance list, but this is no slouch of a field in the NWL division. Jackson up top, but Ari Sink, the 2 seed, has played some really tough games against me, including right here on this channel. If you want to, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Search my name. I'm sure you'll find it. Jared Kappel, another very, very strong player from the Toronto area. Jason Lee has nearly won a Nationals before. Never sleep on Robin Pollock Daniel. Chloe Fatsis, of course, who we've got in the first game, has been a beast recently over the board. But my bold prediction is we see Zachary Ansell finish in the top 3. And the reason I'm making that prediction is because I was having a slow day at work, decided to pop on Woogles and get a game in. Somebody accepts my seek, and ended up dropping 707 points on me. And I asked him after the game, like, who are you? How did you do this? And it was Zach. So if Zach can score 700 on me, Zach's going to have a good tournament. We're going to flip now to the action and get underway now that we've had our bold predictions. The moment of truth, Chloe Fatsis and Zach Ansell kicking off the first of 3 games that we'll see on day 1 of the Lake George Scrabble tournament. Chloe to play first and Zach to respond. Drop in the chat how you like this new spiffy view. We get to see the players and their racks and their clocks and their scores all at once, so that's some pretty cool stuff. Also cool stuff on Chloe's opening rack. AEFLOTX is what she's pulled, and she's going to have to now decide what to do with this X. Does she just want to play small, something standard like a fox holding AELT, or perhaps is there something else we want to do in this situation? So Charles, what do you think? Do you just play fox here, or do you spend some more time?
Fox looks like a really strong play right off the bat, and you don't want to waste time in at the early part of the game. Oh, I think we maybe both missed latex, which Chloe is coming up with very quickly.
Yeah.
A quick play like that, you don't want to waste too much time in the early game when you might need to do some deep thinking later. So this looks very strong for Chloe.
So it looks like a good play for sure, although this exposed A is going to yield big responses from Zach. He's sitting now on the Z, and he'll be able to make ZA plays right next to it. Latex and Fox, 2 very good plays, different philosophically in what they do. Latex turns over a lot more tiles, but scores a lot more right now. Fox keeps very bingo prone. Sim's got him neck and neck, but Chloe takes the longer word here, and now Zach got to figure out how he wants to cash in on this Z that he's drawn. He got hit for 40, but just ZA right back is 44. He can also forego the Z spot and make a play like Hazy, making HE and AX. That'll be 43. Or he can hold on to the Z, a really sneaky, awesome opportunity to play HIYA just to the left of Latex, setting up the Z, setting up a spot for him to hit Zit next turn. So he's looking at Haya now. Curious to see if he opts for the setup play or if he just cashes in some points. Charles, what do you think?
I think Haya has enough upside where I would be very interested in doing it. Downside is it does get hit back for a lot of points by Chloe in many situations where she has at least one scoring tile. He really probably wouldn't be counting on that Z spot staying open. But there's a chance that it stays open, and sometimes that chance is one you're willing to take.
Yeah, man, it's one of those like it can't work, right? That the setup can't work. He's going to play there, but if he doesn't, like man, it's gonna feel so good to drop 70 next turn. So he's opting to forego the setup, and I think reluctantly, I would choose to do the same thing here. Hazy makes a lot more sense. Just got so many clunky tiles on that rack, and Zach looking to get rid of several of those. So Chloe going to drop the F, and Zach going to drop the Z right back. We're seeing a lot of good material come down. And speaking of material, looks like Chloe has pulled the first blank in this game already. FMOORT blank. And you can see she's already wasted no time finding a bingo in this rack. That would be Comfort, which now plays alongside Zach's play, making THE. There's one additional playable bingo here that scores one less point, and I will let the chat figure that one out instead. But Comfort for 71 is going to be the play Chloe makes here. So X and then Z and then a blank bingo. We're seeing a lot of points, and Zach is going to keep the point scoring on board as he's drawn more big clunky consonants. BDIKMRW. He's going to have some fun plays through the THE, writhed and things similar to that. Or he's got some plays in the middle of this board, plays that are tough to spot. MIB plays between Comfort and Latex there. MIB making MM, FIL, and OBA. That is 36 and holds DKRW. We've seen Zach on stream before find tough to spot little plays like this, and I'd be surprised if he misses this one here, but that is a great option for him. Charles, what do you think in this situation? You see a board that already looks a little bit tight. There's a C at the top of the board, and you're down by a bingo. Are you looking to open this board up right now, or you just try to take things easy and approach this game slowly?
Well, I think facing a bingo-sized deficit as Zach currently is, it's never too early to start opening the board. It's never too early to start worrying about how the board's going to develop. Really, you should be thinking of that from the very first turn. And both Zach and Chloe are very good players. They're certainly thinking of these things. And Zach just intuitively will see that there's not many places to put 7-letter words on this board already. We're only on turn 3, but the only place to put a 7-letter word is, sort of parallel to latex. That's really the only spot. That's not a situation you want to be in when you're down. So something like writhed through THE does sort of start the process of reopening the board. He doesn't have any good long plays, for example, through the O of Comfort, that maybe would achieve the same thing, but this is a good compromise. And honestly, the leave of BKM does have some synergy. He could very easily score well to that Y and Hazy. There's a few ways that this could work out for him. So I do like this play.
So ride the option he elects to go with here, and that's going to forego significant points, keep a rather clunky BKM leave, and all but assure that he won't be bingoing next turn. Quackle's got him at about 2% to bingo next turn with that BKM leave, which is abysmal. But you've got to think about the shape of the board early in the game. So rides perhaps a tactical decision, perhaps a miss, and now we see him miss vowels on his next pull as well. That's tough for Zach to start this game. So ride the play. Chloe now AEGOOTU as she looks to extend on her lead. But she's got a lot to think about here. You can't keep the board. You can't keep opening the board, not with the lead you've got, but you can't sacrifice a ton to start shutting it down. She looks to have one good play to the Y, and she's already putting it down. A Gouty, AGOUTY, another spelling of that word with an I at the end. That's going to be 24. And I think there's not much to discuss here. She may get hit back hard by counter plays, but I think this is a nice way to keep the board shut. What do you think, Charles?
I think this Agouti really does achieve most of the things that Chloe wants here, which is to continue scoring as best as she can, keep okay letters, and somewhat block the R of writhed for bingos going forward. And if Zach does hit a big play under Agouti, he's still going to be down by a significant amount, unless it's a truly monster play, which possibly won't happen since the X is already played. So I do like this play from Chloe. And it just so happens that Zach is in no position whatsoever to make any kind of counter or response play to a Goody. Can't punish the spot that Chloe opened, is really left with very few choices.
And Zach has a really hard decision here. Just out of this Drek, no available plays underneath a Gouty with no vowels. And so I think you have to play Jock in this situation. That's what he's going to do. BDM in and just hope that the vowels start coming. And Chloe has already found the second blank in this bag. So she does have a bingo. Jock allows this bingo to play as well. Just one playable bingo for her this turn, and it's one she won't miss. The bingo is Enol Ace, Enolase. That's going to play with Jocks. So, there's something she needs to consider. Do I want to open a triple triple and E in the second spot of a triple triple with a lead like this? But I don't think there's any case to be made for passing up on the bingo here. She can play Jocko and OE, holding a nice strong AELN blank leave. And she's going to think about it, especially just given the terrible positioning option for her other bingo. But a play like OE after Jocko yields a bingo that still opens a triple triple next turn a lot of the time, either bingoing on top of the OE or from the A in latex. So I think she just needs to stop and pull the trigger here, play Enol Ace and Jocks. Wants to make sure, obviously, she's not missing any nines through F8s from that L, but we, with our anagrammers open, know that there's nothing there.
Yeah,
Charles,
I think
bingo here.
I'm thinking the Enol Ace play is one you can't pass up, especially once Chloe determines that's her only bingo. Zach's play of Jock did not indicate that he was fishing. It would appear from Chloe's perspective that he was just consonant heavy, which is, from our perspective, we know that's exactly the case. And so putting the E in the second spot of a triple triple line is not quite as dangerous as it normally would be, even given just a random rack for Zach.
Yeah, so Chloe not going to pass up on the bingo, and we agree in the commentary booth 2 for 2. Enol Ace, the blank is an S, going to be the play here. Kind of a bread and butter baby bingo, if you will. But hey, we take those. We take any bingo in competitive Scrabble. And Chloe, with that second blank, is going to surge ahead. She now leads 210 to 88 after the bingo. And Zach did not find much relief in the tile bag from the case of all the consonants that he's been drawing. He'll now have to make a big choice in this game. It is game one of a very long tournament. Do I leave that triple triple open, get very aggressive, and try to claw back into this game, or do I just play something like BLE and DE to the E and Enol Ace? That's 36, holds MN. Probably kind of waving the white flag and giving up on this one, especially with the shape of this board that it's already taken. But you don't want to get blown out by 250 in the first game of a tournament either. And it seems like there's very little chance that Zach is going to come back and win this. Maybe he foregoes some points. He can play it for 6 fewer points by playing through the E instead of to the E, giving the board some extra life. But 6 points is a lot. Charles, what would you be looking to do in this situation?
On this turn for Zach, I don't think he can leave the triple triple open. There's no chance that Chloe would leave it open for an additional turn. If it stays open for her to play, she's going to play there because she would recognize correctly that that's the most straightforward way for her to lose the game, is to get a triple triple played against her. So Zach might as well just take the points that are available to him. And here we see he elected to play blend rather than sticking the E on for blende, or however you might want to pronounce that. I think just he was so burned by the lack of vowels earlier that he couldn't face another vowelless leave.
Well,
Hence
the thing I
keeping the
like
E.
about this play, it's a good board forking play. He now has the blend back hooks of E or S and he can bingo in the 2 row with a good draw. So gives up a lot of points, but keeps this board good and alive for the long term. And that's going to yield dividends for him as he's pulled into a great bingo rack. Finally, bingo for Zach to give him a chance back in this game yet. Chloe has drawn great blocking tiles, the V, the best blocking tile in the game of Scrabble, and she's got to decide if she wants to cash that in. Played like Avion, Avion, a beneath blend, making BI and LO for 22. Really blocks that 2 line very effectively and says, Zach, if you're going to bingo, you're going to have to do it in a tough to hit spot. You're going to have to end or start it with an E or an S or play through or from an L. Good luck. So I think that would be a great defensive play. Downside to Avion, EFG is the leave, and that's not very solid. She could also look to just step on the gas, run away, as score as much as she can this game, and make a play like Fag above a Gouty, FAG for 28 points. Charles, you playing defense here, or are you just scooping up some points?
Here I'm probably just scooping up some points. So a play like Fag puts her up by 2 bingos. So it still takes a lot of good fortune for Zach to come back from that. And Avion does not fully. It seems like it blocks and it does block the immediate most likely bingo line. But after perhaps a 5-letter play hitting the triple word score, all of a sudden there would be another triple word open that she would have to deal with. So Avion probably doesn't score enough and keeps a bad enough leave. Doesn't quite achieve the aims that she wants, and so she might as well take the points and keep the slightly more flexible leave.
So Fag is indeed the play she's going to make, jump ahead by nearly 120, though Zach now gets to hit back. He has 3 7s in this rack, teaming, Tagmina, and Mintage. And of those, Mintage and BE playing atop the board is his highest scoring option. That'll be 82. Give him some life yet. Would make the score 238 for Chloe to 194 for Zach. So this game's not over just yet. Yeah, both blanks have been played. Yeah, Zach's down a bunch right now, but about to score a lot. And we'll see. Chloe has a very bingo prone rack of her own, EEINORV. But I don't see any options that she's going to have after Mintage. Yeah, there's nothing. She won't have anything after Mintage. So assuming Zach opts to pull the trigger on this one, Chloe's going to be in an interesting situation.
Yeah, she'll definitely be looking to play through the M of Mintage. Unfortunately, her bingo of actually 2 bingos with an M, neither of them fit. Vomarine and Overmine. Sadly, cannot play either of those, but she's going to be looking to disrupt that spot and hopefully score a little bit, maintain that bingo size lead. That's sort of a barometer that I use fairly often when I'm playing a game of Scrabble is how big is my lead in terms of how many bingos is my lead or how many bingos is my deficit. And that sort of guides how I approach my letters.
So Chloe with a very tough decision now. The only play that compellingly blocks the M in Mintage is Omen, Omen for 21. EIRV is a reasonable leave to try to keep here, but this is going to be a tough turn for Chloe. One other thing that she wants to pay attention to here is that unseen pool. There are 44 unseen at this point in the game, and half of them are vowels. So that is definitely vowel heavy in terms of what's left, what's unseen. And you got to hope that Zach has some, but if he doesn't, you're going to be drawing a bunch of vowels here. So that's what I'd be looking to do, if at all possible, is play off more vowels than consonants if I can, so I don't get caught with something yucky on my rack. This is a very hard turn, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Chloe spend substantial time here. She felt like maybe she was going to run away with this game. Now the board is in bad shape for her. That M is threatening. The back hooks on blend still available, showing some of the merits of that play, the very clever play that Zach made earlier in this game. Oh man, Quackle likes back hooking blend with an E and making a play like Envoi, Envoi, or Enviro, but that just opens this board wide up. Definitely a lot of equity for Chloe on those plays. If she wants to get very aggressive and try to bingo, she can also play Emo through the M or something like JOE, holding the nice, actually pretty synergistic EINRV. Man, this is a very hard turn, though. Charles, does anything stand out to you as a compelling play here?
I'm feeling lost on this play. I honestly don't know what my approach would be here, given that the one play through the M that's any good at all would be either Emo or Omen. Um, Still keeping the V, you don't want to keep the V longer than necessary. With the remaining tiles, it's an okay bingo letter, but again, the spots for 7-letter words on this board have become restricted. So I would be very tempted by a play like Envoi, making Blende, just to go for the equity.
I think I would have to play Enviro over Envoi, even though I just said, I want to try to play off additional vowels. I think I'd have to play Enviro here because I just can't string that I as the first tile to play a double double down like that. It's just so crazy. So I'd play for something just a little bit more defensive that doesn't get me double doubled on every single time. So Chloe looks like she is playing up there. What's it going to be? ENVOI is going to give back a huge Q play, and she is opting for Enviro instead. So a big decision for Chloe, and it looks like she's picked the right one here. As Zach now, his no-brainer of QI is not going to fit. So Enviro, indeed, what she opts to play here, grabbing the equity and dodging a bullet here by playing Enviro instead. So Zach now has to respond. He has 37 points at the bottom of this board, PYE, FAY, and AGE. It does hold on to the Q, which is not something, but with 3 U's left in the bag, maybe you're okay with that. He can play the Q right now, QI above the M and mintage. It would block the triple triple, but would also keep that M open for a very long time. Chloe would need an S to make any kind of good block, or a 7-letter word from the M to justify it. So QI is also an option. EPP looks like a very interesting leave. I bet there's actually a surprising number of bingos in there, and I don't know half of them. So let's see what we got. EPPRY, couple other letters. Yeah, yappier, prepays, coppery, pre-type, foppery, propine, pyropes. There's some options there, and you'll score very well out of that rack as well. So QI looks to be a good play. PYE score, and I don't think we're going to see anything except one of those two. Anything that jumps out to you, Charles, analytically between those plays?
I think in Zach's making the play, I agree with here. Um, you probably want to get rid of the Q here because there's a decent chance, at least from Zach's perspective, that the QI spot will get blocked next turn just by Chloe trying to play through the M. Meanwhile, the spot for PYE at the bottom of the board could stay open if Chloe's most interested in blocking the M. So you can play QI, keep PYE in reserve for next turn with a decent chance of still being able to play it, and possibly draw one of those odd bingos that Matt mentioned. But it turns out that Chloe actually has a bingo of her own here. She actually has several. It looks like she's finding Sablist, perhaps the more difficult find here between Sablist and Stables. And
This is the highest
that's
scoring option.
also the best play from a scoring perspective. And Zach has not drawn well, so this again seems to be swinging heavily towards Chloe.
Yeah, the UW draw, Zach's 2-tile pull into EPPRY, so not at all what he was hoping for, and to get bingoed on top of that. This one's looking tough for Zach. Chloe did have a playable 9 last turn. It was not a good play, but it was definitely a fun play that would give us that stream content that we're all itching for. So I will just leave that right there for all of you. In this situation now, EPPRUWY, Zach needs to score points and he needs to keep this board available. I would play Yepper here, Yepper. Yeppers could be good.
I usually say yuppers rather than yeppers, so I would challenge yepper, but be totally okay with yupper.
Yeah, it looks like Yepper is no good. I'd still play it anyway. There's no other way I win this game than to get a 50 pointer down and open that R. So I would just play a phony here. But in terms of valid plays in this situation, WYE plays in the bottom left of this board for 40, holds PPRU. I think that's about the only thing you can justify doing here. You have to score very well now and just hope the tile bag bails you out at this point to have any shot to catch up.
Yeah, and it's I guess somewhat good news for Zach that there is a tailor-made place for a bingo starting with a P on this board, and that's putting the P after BO for Bob. So it's not totally hopeless. There's probably at least some bingos in the pool that he could draw with these letters, and it's possible that they'll still be playable after Chloe's play. So it's still an extreme long shot, but this does get him, in about as good a position as he could hope for.
So why 40 points puts Zach within about 90 of Chloe, but it is Chloe's turn, and she's got scoring options once again. 39 points are available to her with Evade from the E and Save list. That holds EII in a bag that is half vowels, including 3 I's and 3 U's. That also opens this board wide open. So that seems like a very scary play. And Chloe agrees she's going to do something very smart. She's going to wield that second V, and she is going to wield it for defense. She's going to make a very good play and IV'd here, thwart several bingo lines all at the same time, and all but end Zach's chances of winning this game. So definitely not the equity play here, but an awesome play here for Chloe, taking advantage of the tight nature of this board and making it even tighter. You can feel Zach knows this one is getting away from him very quickly. Oh boy. So Yepper was the phony I recommended last turn. Hepper is available to Zach this turn, and that is actually a word. 48 points for HEPPER opens this board up. If Zach even thinks there's an inkling that this word could be good, he's got to try it, right? It's the only way for him to win this game. So we'll see. Hep, I think, famously one of those words that like doesn't take an S or didn't take an S forever. It does now, but it used to not, like the adjective form. So Hepper, Hepist, maybe he knows those. Those are deep in the probability range, though. We'll see.
Although if Zach knows the definition of hep, he might be able to just infer hepper. He hopefully wouldn't need to have studied it. It looks like he might be setting up repper, which would be phony, I believe, in addition to scoring fewer points. So the inferior play on multiple fronts. But he might feel like his back's against the wall here.
Yeah, not too many options left. Hepper or another play that scores 50 now and gives him any shot to draw bingo, about his only chance. He can be making some inferences, looking at this unseen pool, which we'll try to get on display for y'all at home. And at this point, you just have to cross your fingers and pray that your opponent doesn't have the stuff that's going to get you in trouble. So here's what the pool looks like. It basically looks like Senorita twice, and then some extra vowels in there as well. So a lot of bingo prone stuff, but a lot of vowels as well. If you're Zach, you need to be thinking about this. You've got to hope Chloe's got 5 or 6, and you can find a couple, but maybe also an S or something good in there.
Yeah, and Hepper does achieve exactly what Zach wants, not just from a scoring perspective, but opening that last ditch bingo lane that he can hit to the triple. And then he'll have both the M and a new R on the board to hit in either direction. And that really achieves everything he wants. So we hope he sees it. He's got Hep set up on his rack. Now
Ooh,
we
do
can't
it.
quite figure
Oh,
out what he's doing right now.
it looked like he had
Perhaps
it set.
we shouldn't look too much into the random tile shuffles of our competitors. They're really just RNG machines doing things at random. Their shuffling might not mean anything, but it did seem for a second that he might have been thinking about Hepper.
Yeah, it looked like he kind of set it up, but maybe that was just as a part of the shuffle. Hepper would make this game rather dangerous for Chloe. That R exposed on the triple word, you can bingo down to it or from it for about 80 points. The M still exposed in mintage, and all of those juicy bingo prone tiles unseen in the bag could spell trouble for Chloe. But that is a tough word to know, a tough one to pull the trigger on. And yet, in this situation, it is desperation mode. You've got to try it, right?
I think if Zach sees it, he'll probably. I think he's thinking, does he have any other reasonable options? Anything that gives him a chance in this game? He's probably slowly coming to the realization that there's not much out there that can save him. He might have been setting up Hep, playing parallel to Ivied. He's doing something slightly different here. It's just playing Pure, which is a good equity play. It scores well, and the EHP is a reasonably synergistic leave. But on this board, it's not going to work out for him.
Yeah, I think if you're going to make this play, it needs to be upper as well in the same spot. You just have to hope Chloe has neither one of those S's, and you have to set up an S hook. Upper would take a back S, pure would not. But again, it's kind of game over in the absence of a play like Hepper. So do whatever you want, I suppose. You're going to lose either way.
Yeah. The real downside of Pure is, as I mentioned, it does not take an S. Zach didn't have an S, but one of his paths to victory would be drawing an S and being able to bingo with it. And so setting up an S hook where the S becomes useful was probably a crucial component of that play if you're passing up Hepper.
So Chloe is going to be able to do what she's wanted to do for a while and block that M. I said she was going to need a 7 to do it. Well, she can also have a rack that is so absolutely garbage that she can justify scoring 8 points, and that's what she's going to do. Meow is going to come down, EES the leave. And again, in the absence of Zach being able to create a new bingo line last turn, this one feels all but over despite the bad pull for Chloe.
So it looks like Zach here could play something like FOD, EPHOD from the E in Sablist to sort of do what we wanted him to do last turn. The only downside with that is it plays all his consonants. And I guess the bag is a little bit more even now, given that Chloe just played 4 vowels, but still not a bag that you would want to be drawing from when you're keeping 3 vowels. So that's immediately what's jumping out to me. Let's take a look at what Quackle thinks.
Yeah, I think EPHOD looks awesome. There are 13 unseen, 6 in the bag. So Zach's got to be thinking about pacing here. Playing off 3 or 4 tiles feels exactly right here. And you have to be able to try to pull bingos in multiple spots. EPHOD would string that D out there and create a very dangerous bingo line. And he does have the second column as well if you get exactly the right set of overlaps on the right side of meow, forming 3 2-letter words. Maybe it could happen. You'd have to pull some great stuff, but it looks like instead heaped is going to be the play here. So perhaps Zach doesn't know or doesn't see EPHOD. Perhaps he just doesn't want to keep 3 vowels all at once. But heaped is going to leave 1 tile in the bag. And Chloe now going to do a little bit of a paperwork to make sure she's not going to blow this game doing anything crazy. But she'll see the unseen pool is CIINOORU. And that doesn't seem particularly dangerous to me. So I'm not seeing anything Zach could do out of that, no matter what.
Yeah, so we have the benefit of access to anagrammers here. Chloe will have to do her homework. She'll probably spend a little bit of time doing her homework to make sure she understands the contents of the bag and what that means for Zach's bingo chances. And after completing all that homework, if she gets an A plus, she'll have determined that there's either nothing out there for him or possibly only one thing. I guess I'm not seeing anything out there for him, given the unseen letters.
Yeah, and these are the situations I think that separate, the 2050 or 2100 players from, a good 1950 or 2000 player. The very, very best cream of the crop at the peak of their game will look at this unseen pool, CIINOORU. They'll look at the available lines, and it takes a special degree of confidence to say, I'm certain there's nothing there. I'm certain I'm not missing anything, and I'm going to play the best end game I can. It's very easy to just, make a play like vent here or something and be like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and block anyway. So we'll see what Chloe decides to do here. If she tries to go for the I'm on stream and I'm going to flex a little bit, and play the best end game and not block anything, or what she chooses to do. She also, I suppose, has the option of fishing right now. And I'm actually seeing several bingos that she could draw that will play if she does that. If she just plays one of her E's, picks up one of those I's like she actually will, she'll have Sestine, Sestine, which plays in the second column. So that would be the big baller move. Plunk your E, DEP, and AXE. Say, Zach, I'm going to empty the bag. I know you're not going to bingo on me, and I might bingo on you after that. So we'll see if she's able to pull the trigger on that sequence, but that would be awesome if she does.
Yeah, that would truly be a big baller move. That would be displaying complete confidence in your ability not only to track correctly, which we saw at Worlds, not everybody has or should have that confidence that they've tracked completely correctly, and also completely confident in her ability to find all the bingos available for Zach. And even very good players, possibly anybody that's sub elite, will have a pretty good idea that there's no bingos, but they won't know for sure, and they won't want to risk the loss. We'll see if Chloe falls into that group or not. Personally, I would not do a one tile fish here just because I would be afraid that I had messed something up.
But again, this is what separates 2100 from 1950 or 2000. And Chloe would be rewarded so well. If she plunks the E, she would draw Sestine in the second row or Destins from the D in heaped. She'll bingo either way. Of course, I know the I is in the bag. She doesn't. She's got to be thinking, what happens if I pick up an O? Is it even worth it to do that? Or should I just try to go out and do? But I'm very curious to see what Chloe does here. She could impress a whole lot of people if she actually goes through with this. But again, so hard to do. I can't say that I would do it ever without the tools in front of me telling me that there's nothing there.
Yeah, I would possibly do this in a club game or a casual game. I would, try to flex a little bit just for the small amount of clout that I would get in such a situation. But in a tournament where it's not just clout, but your actual win-loss record, very tough to do for all but the very best players.
This is what separates the grandmas from the grandmasters, I think is the quote from that documentary Word Wars, although they can be one and the same.
So does that make us grandmas, Matt?
No, it makes us like fish food or something, cannon fodder. Oh, Chloe, you're making me sad. You're doing the smart thing, but oh man. See what she's even picked up. EES. Where are these gonna go? Jeez. Okay. Oh, perhaps she's looking to block some kind of full bingo, FUL, even though that wouldn't be a bingo. Or maybe she's just looking to score some points. But alas, Chloe not going to be rewarded with one additional bingo this game, though she is taking the all but certain win after JEES. Not blocking any lines, but not taking the chance on a fish. She pulls that last I out of the bag. And Zach, in a tough game, anytime a player as good as Chloe draws both blanks in the first couple of turns, it's going to be an uphill battle for you. And Zach did some cool stuff, especially that play of blend to fork the board. That was very clever, very crafty, and nearly got him back into this game. Chloe just needed that third bingo of save list to pull away in this one.
Yeah, I don't think we can say that Zach did anything especially wrong in this game. It just the tiles weren't there for him, especially at the beginning with the consonant overload, and in the end he was just down by too much to mount. Well, I shouldn't say that. He did mount a serious comeback. He was within a bingo. If one draw had resulted in a bingo rather than a non-bingo, we'd be talking about a different game. But I think he did most of what he could to stay competitive here.
Yeah, he did his best. He should have no regrets in this one, though. At this point now, he's just looking for optimal end game. EINST, your opponent's certainly going out, so play off as many tiles as I can for as much as I can has to be the thinking here. Coupon plays through the P and heaped. I think the best end game, according to Quackle, is Cohen Yuri, Coenrui, playing through the E and heaped for 17. But not much to be done. Chloe draws all four S's and both blanks. She draws the X, which she cashed for 40 on the first turn. And Zach did draw the J and the Q, which both got in the way of otherwise relatively powerful racks, and the Z, which he wasn't quite able to cash on that double letter that was exposed. So, just one of those frustrating games for Zach all around. Even when I get the stuff, it's not when I need it, and I didn't get very much of it to start with. So Zach is going to find optimal end game. Cohen Yuri coming down 17 points, and Chloe now just looking to go out. She is playing out with Tines for 15. In Tines available for one additional point as well, but Tines going to be her play. And that's it for this one. So after catching Zach with additional points on his rack, the final we get is 413 to 334 in Chloe's favor. So she'll start off with the win. And Zach, my pick to finish top three here, a tough luck loss. I don't know if we have overhead camera, but let's see if we have that microphone and see if we can cut to it. No, okay. I'm hearing from production team we don't have an overhead mic, so we'll just have to guess what they're saying. Something like, "I bet this was a really good game. I just wish I had brought a blank." Oh, maybe we did. Maybe we don't. In any case, that is the end of the first game of our coverage. We're looking at matchups for game two that we want to bring you guys. And the round two matchups, nobody was paid to do this. Chloe Fatsis versus Stefan Fatsis looks to be a compelling option. So we may have that one for you. Jackson Smylie is also playing Eric Goldstein in round two. And then in round three, we look to bring you guys Michael Fagen, who's won a nationals recently against Robin Pollock Daniel, who may be the best female NWL player in the world. If Chloe is not that person, and there's a couple others I think who might have a stake on that title as well. We are going to cut to a brief intermission so I can go get some water, and we will make a choice on which game to bring y'all. I'll drop it in chat just as soon as we have it. But thanks for sticking around. First of 15 games from Lake George, New York is concluding now. We'll see y'all back in a few short minutes. Welcome back, everybody. Game 2 of the Lake George Scrabble Tournament coming on underway in just a moment. Again, Matt Canik joined by Charles Reinke for additional action. We are going to bring you Chloe Fatsis versus Stefan Fatsis in this one. A too cute a matchup not to bring to you guys. So we will have that here. Charles, what do you expect from this game?
I expect. I think both you and I, Matt, are very well aware of the sparks that can fly when you play a family member in a Scrabble tournament, and so I expect sparks to fly in this one as well.
Absolutely. Pull out all the stops. Nothing is off limits when you play your own kin. And that's what we'll see here. Of course, Charles, his brother Thomas, I think he plays Scrabble. He puts letters on a board. A pathetic excuse for a Scrabble player. And my brother as well. Pathetic excuse for a Scrabble player, but has shown up at tournaments from time to time. So this one, not sibling versus sibling, but father versus daughter. And that one will be exciting as well. Stefan, for those less familiar with competitive Scrabble, wrote the book Word Freak, which is responsible for getting hundreds of people, including myself, into the board game of Scrabble, and brought his own daughter into the scene as well. So Stefan has brought many, many, many folks to this game for better or for worse. And his daughter now on her way to become one of the top experts on the continent. So this will be a good one for everybody at home. Charles, you're a Word Freak kid as well.
Yeah, I can say that my brother picked it out of the bookstore. He read it. He wanted to play Scrabble. I read it. I wanted to play Scrabble, and that's when we started playing Scrabble. I think a lot of people from the Word Freak era had exactly the same path to tournament Scrabble that you did as well, Matt.
Stefan Fatsis, the Scrabble legend, and we will get to his game right now as Chloe, with her 1-0 record, looks to take that 2-0 as her win. And we do have some noise from that overhead cam, some aggressive shaking there. And I don't know what Stefan's eating, but I'm sure it's good. I've heard the food's always good up in Lake George. So, all right, we are underway. Chloe looks like gets to go first for the second game in a row. What a luck box. As we are getting started now. Chloe to draw, TV, some other goodies to go with it. Ooh, this could be very promising. Nope, not quite. AERRTTV, the rack for Chloe. So avert, 2 options she could play here. Maybe considers exchanging as well. I don't know. Charles, would you look to play vert or avert here, or would you exchange RT?
I like Vert here, just VERT. It sets up your A. ART is quite a good leave. There's probably no reason to exchange here. You would probably exchange RTV, keeping AERT, which is a great leave, but not by no means guaranteed to net you a bingo. Might as well take the 14 points, keep ART slightly inferior leave, but not 14 points inferior. And looks like Chloe's going for slightly more points and just tacking the A on right away for a vert. Also a very strong choice.
So vert for 18, the way she's going to start. And vertically, she's now 2 for 2 in vertical openings. Very good. AEEEELL, the rack for Stefan. Doesn't even have Allele as an out as a bailout from this rack, just a little bit away from that. So this just a hot garbage start to a game that I'm sure Stefan would very much like to win. Of course, it's a long game and anything can happen. Leave looks to be his top option here, just LEAVE through the V, 16 points. That's about all you can do. And the rack's not so bad that you exchange here. Do you see any reason to do anything else in this situation, Charles?
No, that's really got to be that. Keeping EEL, it's not ideal, but it's basically as good as you're going to do on this rack if you want to score any points at all. So there's no reason to pass that play up, assuming that Stefan sees it. It's a normal word, so we would expect him to find that play.
It looks like he might be looking to play some defense here. He's looking at LEE stacking, but leave going to be the play he opts to make here, and we agree in the booth. Solid start for Stefan and Chloe. has found some trouble. Ceoort. She does have Cooter, Cooter, playing above leave for 26, but that's a little bit dangerous. That's going to throw the C right out there and open this board. If she wants to keep things tight, Toko and Cleave, another option for her for 23. And I think that's the one she wants to make. Charles, would you play Cleave and Toko here? Would you play Cleave and Coup for just 16 holding EORT? Or would you play long with Cooter?
I'm I probably have a bad tendency of just playing long whenever I feel like it. I think it might be some desire just to show off six-letter words. I'm not sure exactly where it stems from. Something like Cooter, which scores really well, keeps a neutral leave of just an O. I'd be very tempted by, and I. It's hard for me to quantify exactly how dangerous that C is in the triple line. I probably underestimate how dangerous it could be, so I would be leaning towards Cooter. Then again, putting the C on leave, you get to use that hook right away for a decent score and a decent leave. I'd be kind of split between those two plays. So I like Chloe's play here.
Yeah, tough decision, but one that Chloe didn't spend a lot of time on. She really liked this play of Toko, and she's gone ahead and made it. Stefan, still a lot of E's on his rack. Deeehln. He's got some nice options. Underneath Cleave, he can cash in that H in a number of different plays. Healed or heal or heed all play underneath Cleave for a bunch of points. I think I like healed the most in this situation. 37 points. Get rid of Deehl, which are tiles that aren't exactly synergistic. Stefan's got it set up on his rack here as well. Going to take his time and make sure there's nothing better that he's not seeing. But we don't see it here in the booth. No bingos or anything crazy like that. And Stefan's going to get a nice number of points out of this rack.
Yeah, definitely. Most Scrabble players at any level will immediately hone in on the H going on that triple letter score, and it just so happens that not only can you simply drop the H there, you can drop most of your clunky tiles as well while scoring points. So it really feels like a no-brainer, and Stefan felt the same way, it appears.
And not just that, but also knocking out those big back hooks on Cleave, the R, the D, and the S, all now much harder to cash in and will be less fruitful typically when you do. So a lot of merit to that play, a lot of good stuff. And Stefan 2 for 2 on making plays we like so far in this game, as Chloe now has another tough rack that she's going to have to work her way out of. This was looking promising, EIORT, and then it went very astray as her last two tiles were WG. And this is tough now. Man, I hate these racks. I hate situations like this. You can play Wig to the left side of Toko, making it and go, and setting up, front hooks like Twig and Swig and huge overlaps. You can play GOWD to the D and healed for 18, holding bingo prone stuff on a board that's not the best for bingos. You can play Godwit or something. I don't know, like nothing looks good for Chloe out of this situation. I think I'm partial to just playing long and making like a Godwit type play if I see that here. But what's going through your head right now, Charles?
My first inclination, just seeing the letters, was do I have a play through the A of avert? Like, can I play wage something? Like, wage year is not a word, but that would be a play I would be, looking to try to make. I'd spend a little bit of time thinking about that, and then failing to come up with anything, I would have to fall back on some of those, as you described them, Matt, just less enticing options. Something like Godwit, again, my affinity for six-letter words, just throw it down there, open the board a little bit for more spots for bingos. ER is a perfectly good leave, and just, try to get to a bingo at some point.
Yeah, I think I like Godwit here. I don't like how it opens the board necessarily. I like keeping tight boards tight, but I think we just need to play off some tiles in this situation. Godwit would be fun because it would be another fun wit word that I've gotten to call on stream. Some of you may be familiar with the other famous wit word I got to call on stream, as that was in a $10,000 game of Scrabble. I'll let chat deal with the rest of that because I think I might get us banned from YouTube.
Yeah, definitely don't get banned from YouTube, Matt, because I don't think I can carry this stream by myself.
I think you could, and I guess you could probably call on your brother if needed. You know, y'all could probably be entertaining together.
And honestly, if you got banned from YouTube, it's because the whole channel got banned from YouTube. So we might just be kicked off together in that situation.
Speaking of the channel, those of you who are jumping in a little bit later, Let's Play Scrabble does very often put out good Scrabble content, whether it's live streaming tournaments, or putting together highlight reels, putting together Scrabble skirmishes where they grab people to play and commentate in a rotating fashion. Make sure you've subscribed to this channel if you're interested in watching Scrabble on the internet, or if you just want to do Josh a solid. Make sure you check out letsplayscrabble.com, as you see on the bottom of the display here as well. If you're into Scrabble at all, let's try to grow this game. Let's share these links around. Let's like this video. Let's subscribe. Let's run up that algorithm. As Chloe plays Gowd here, she keeps the board tight. Maybe she knows something about her dad's game that we don't. But Gowd, the play she's going to make, EIRT. She's really hoping for a bingo into those bingo prone tiles. Otherwise, she's in trouble. What does she pull? There's an A, an O, and a T. This will be interesting. I'm not seeing it if it's there.
Yeah, I think that's just one too many vowels for Chloe. I guess it does depend on what her dad opens up for her. If he puts that N out in space, she'll have Tentoria. Of course, he doesn't know that. He's really just focused on making his own best play. And in this case, this is something where I would spend a significant amount of time to my own detriment. Is do I have a bingo through the T on this rack? It's a high probability set of letters, but I would need to spend some time to make sure I'm not missing anything, because a bingo through this T would far and away be Stefan's best play if it's there. So he has to make sure he's not missing anything. We know from our position that he's not, but he can't know for sure.
Yeah, it's really tough on stream, especially. You do not want to miss a baby bingo on stream. But Stefan, pretty confident he doesn't have one there. He has to play CLINE in this situation. I think I liked CINE just a little bit better because his board is so bad for scoring. And I've just exposed a triple word that's going to make Chloe, going to give Chloe some easy scoring options. But at the same time, this score is way better than the other options. So, whatever. That's the play Stefan chooses to make. It'll put him ahead 85-59, and Chloe did miss a bingo on her EIRT leave, which hurts. She does have Erotica through the C for 27, which is a pretty good option here. She's also got nice stacking plays to the right side of Klein. TOE or TOEA jump out as the best two options there, making GIT and a bunch of other goodies on their way down. Charles, are you playing Erotica through the C? Are you playing as many tiles as you can once again? Or do you think in this situation, maybe we keep things small with a play like Toe?
I honestly might split the difference here. I might do something like 8 ATE to the right of Klein. It mostly blocks the triple, and it also sort of uses up that nice double word score that's sitting there next to GI. The leave isn't as good, clearly, and there's been a lot of E's played, so you might value your E tile slightly more here than you would normally. But if she wants to do sort of both things at once, she could do that. Otherwise, I might be tempted just to play Coat, very basic play from the C incline, and just go for another bingo, keeping EIRT.
Yeah, these turns are tough. Do I blow up the bingo prone stuff or not? Chloe's going to opt to play aortic here. I do like holding on to the E. Already five, or only five left in the bag already at this stage in the game. So not too many more to be drawn. And I do like holding on to the E. She'll play aortic. I like this idea. So aortic to play, 24 points for Chloe. She's now down just two, although her dad has found the first blank in this bag, and that is going to make things very interesting. The blank giving Stefan a 70-point play this turn, a 70-point non-bingo. So that is something he's going to have to think about. That play is FedEx, burning the blank as an E, making GIF, ONE, and WED 70 points. He can also score that X in a number of other places. Fax beneath aortic is 32. Fed over to the right side of Klein a bunch of points as well. These are so hard to decide. Do I cash the blank now or do I hold on to it? 70 is so many points. But DEO blank after scoring Fax for 32, like, how can that go wrong? That seems awesome too. What are you thinking about doing here, Charles? What do you look to do if you're Stefan?
I would be thinking of, certainly my first thought would be get the bingo type score with FedEx. That's just too many points to pass up in a lot of situations. He looks like he might have been starting to play it, but just stops with Fed, which does keep the X. The X isn't doing anything spectacular on this board, and it will hinder his bingo chances. But maybe he's thinking the long game. Maybe he's thinking score big with Fed, cash in the X next turn, and then bingo. So a three tiles or three play sequence of sort of escalating scores. So I guess I see where he might be going with this, and I kind of like that idea.
Oh, this is nuts. I think Chloe's going to play at Tui, ETUI, through the T and Toko on this turn. And if she does, depending on what Stefan draws, if he picks up an I, he's going to crush that X and then bingo next turn. So we'll see what Chloe does. But if she does put down ETUI, which looks to be an equity play, she might get smacked. Nope, Stefan has missed the I. So that would be an interesting sequence, but one that wouldn't hurt as bad.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what Stefan was hoping for. Just some crazy extended sequence of plays that would put this game out of reach. He's still in good shape though, holding the X in the blank, and with Chloe clearly not doing much on her turn. It's looking good for Stefan currently, but there's a lot of game left to be played.
There's a lot of game left to be played. There's a lot of lines that are pesky that aren't going to go away. The Weds spot, playing on the left side of Toko, or that last O in Toko, those spots aren't going away anytime soon. So I think we're just going to kind of race to a bingo in each of them, if we can draw one at all. But there's a lot of goodies left in the bag. 2 unseen blanks to Chloe. There's a lot of stuff. So I think we'll see some fireworks yet, and it's just a matter of who pulls them and when. All right, so perhaps because of the unseen X and the unseen Q, Chloe is not playing at Twee, but rather Ute, holding EINOT. She's looking to dodge vowels, and she hasn't done it. AI the pull. That is killer for her, as once again, she's going to score very little. And her dad retaining that X last turn is going to try to cash it in this turn. Mux plays above the U in Ute. It is 33. It opens the board up for high-scoring bingos when you have a blank on your rack. But Chloe has also just played UTE through a T for 6. You have to have her pegged on very bingo-prone tiles as well. That's an aggressive move to open this triple-triple. Charles, would you do it?
Given that Stefan knows that his daughter is very strong on bingo knowledge, and that she would not make a play like Ute unless she was keeping very well, I'd be surprised if he opened up a triple here. And yeah, we see him opting for the safer positioning, which makes complete sense given what he can infer from Chloe's play.
Yeah, I agree. This makes complete sense. 29 points. No reason to get crazy aggressive when the deck is stacked in your favor as it currently stands. So OTU blank to leave for Stefan. And like Chloe, he's looking to dodge drawing vowels here. That play of MAX does give Chloe a very easy play out of this rack, RIA, and she identifies right away, I've got to do this, and throws it down before Stefan has even revealed his draw. So time back on Stefan, Chloe trying to bingo, and she'll pull 2 more vowels. I would have
That's
punched
rough.
them already. I hate holding 1-point leaves like EIRT, EINT, and drawing more vowels into them. Nothing stalls a game out more than doing that. And Chloe just keeps drawing them. Ugh.
Yeah, that
As
that is such a gut punch, like multiple turns in a row to just completely draw the opposite of what you're going for. Not even like generic or neutral value tiles, but the things that are actively hindering you to have that happen on multiple. I wouldn't call these fishes necessarily, but they're basically pseudo fishes, and to have it go wrong, multiple turns in a row is just so annoying.
Right. And it's not like the lines aren't there. There are several bingo lines on this board. You've got a floating central D that you can use anywhere in that word, and you're just not drawing it. But Chloe will eventually get her way out of this. She just looks like she's staring into a blank void right now, and that's exactly where my mind would be too after drawing like six vowels in a row or something. Stefan SSQ, his three tile pull into OTU blank. No bingos out of this rack, and my brain would be exploding right now if I were in his situation. I guess you have to play SUQ and GOWDS, right? Like, I don't think there's anything else to do. I expect to see Stefan spend some time on this turn to make sure there's not some nutso bingo that he's missing out on, but we know it's not there, and I don't see anything except Souk in this situation. Charles, do you see any reason to burn a blank or to exchange, or you just drop SUQ and get on with it?
Yeah, unless I'm missing something, no standout Q plays that would justify burning the blank. You've got the two S's, so you might as well burn one with Souk, and you've got a spot for it for a pretty good score, keeping back an S and a blank. It's kind of what he was hoping to do with the X and the blank, but now it's the Q and the blank. He can cash in the Q here for a pretty good score, all things considered. Try to bingo next turn and maybe put this game away if he can draw something good.
So SUQ, 32 points. OST blank. As Stefan sneaks ever closer to bingo range, he's probably 85% to bingo next turn after that play, if I had to guess. If we go back to Chloe and her infinite consonant draws, or sorry, infinite vowel draws.
Yeah, she's hoping for infinite consonant draws, but that's not what she's getting.
Careful what you wish for. Quackle's got Stefan at 76% to bingo next turn, and it looks like he has picked up some of those. So he'll be getting his down. I wonder if he's got one from the queue. I don't see that.
Oh, that would be cool. Like some quothars, or
Right.
can't come up with one. He's not going to phony like that.
So Knight, 29 points. Chloe just says, you know what, forget it. I need points. I've stalled out the last two turns, Ute and Raya. I'm scoring 29, and I think this is absolutely the right thing to do. So NITE, 29 points. EIO, we'll see if she finds even more vowels here. ETI, man, is that the
That looks
same?
familiar.
She literally just drew EINT after playing EINT. I don't think Chloe's drawn a letter that scores not 1 point in like in a very long time. Geez.
She's got to be really annoyed right now with this bingo coming down. It's like, I mean, it being a family member notwithstanding, this has just been a brutal series of draws for Chloe.
Right, right. I think Chloe definitely has the set though in this family matchup. She's won significantly more, but Stefan, I'm sure would love to have this one. Cat House, 92 points, places that H right there on the double letter play, double letter square. Does not get any better than that, and it keeps this board tight. So Stefan's got to be feeling very good as Chloe stares at the same rack once again, and she's not going to be able to score 29 points out of it this time. This has been painful to watch.
Yeah, I don't see a play that scores more than like 5 points here. I literally don't see a play that she can make that scores any points whatsoever.
You play OI and UNI for five? Do you play Union for five? Like, this is killer. I'm in pain right now.
Yeah, I think this is the worst combination of board and rack that I've ever seen, where the highest scoring play is worth 5. Like that is like almost unheard of. I wouldn't even say almost unheard of. That's completely unheard of.
This is so painful. Maybe you just exchange three. Like I don't know. Maybe you exchange more than three and try to get an S or a blank. You need to hit averts pretty soon. Oh my goodness. It's just painful.
Yeah, this is not especially fun to watch, but when you're streaming and commentating and watching Scrabble, you take the good with the bad. And for Chloe, this is far swung on the pendulum of goodness to the bad side.
Yeah, this is killer. But she pulled both blanks in the first like four turns last game and drew every power tile or whatever. Like Scrabble giveth and Scrabble taketh away. But man, this has been killer. She's gonna exchange three. I think I would too. Just like I don't even know at this point. You just kind of start praying you get to 250 points in a situation like this. Like, please, there's got to be a bingo somewhere in this bag on a board with this many bingo lines. So we'll see what she draws. B S S. BS definitely. I think Chloe's thoughts on some of her pulls this game as well. So exchange three yields two S's for Chloe, and we're back on Stefan's turn now.
And Stefan's up by basically two bingos here. He's sitting pretty. He doesn't need to do anything drastic. I actually don't see. I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about his letters. Don't see anything spectacular for him, but he doesn't need spectacular at this point. He just needs to hold steady. Try to shut down the board piecemeal as he's doing here, and he should be able to just sort of cruise to victory. And
Oh
Grunt
my
does a really good job of that, blocks the most damaging bingo line on the board, which is 8-letter words ending in the T of avert. Also blocks the O of Toko, and it blocks averts. So it does give like an R back and a G back for possible 8-letter words, but it blocks a lot more than it gives. So that's exactly what he wants to do here.
Yeah, so and if you're Stefan, if Chloe's going to bingo, I kind of want her to front hook UTE because that means I'm going to crush that triple word for 40 back and mostly neutralize the bingo anyway. So, he thwacks every line except that one, and that's the one he's least worried about. I love this play of Grunt from Stefan. Just take this lead and run with it, block everything you can all at once. And Chloe looks like she's going to play BIS underneath Knights. She could also play BISES to make cat houses, which would be style points for sure. But this is the last S in the game that's on her rack right now. And unlocking that grunt to grunt spot, I think, is going to be very important. So, as fun as that play is to try to win the game, I think you probably hold the S here. And wow, she's found her consonants. Yeah, gross.
Yeah, that's not what she wanted, especially when things seem to be looking up for her. Um, but it's still a better situation than she was in a few turns ago. Other than the fact that we're a few more turns into the game, it's just closer to being over, and the time to come back is running out with each play that gets made.
And Stefan now picking up that great blocking V, and he'll have options with it. I think Vim and game over. You can play Vamp as well. Opens up spots if Chloe's going to bingo starting with an O, like whatever. But just make some kind of play front hooking Ute with that M you've drawn. And Stefan's got this. This has been a very, very well played game from Stefan so far. His rating suggests you'd expect to see a few mistakes from him each game, and I don't know that he's made one. Fed versus FedEx, I think, is a stylistic decision more than anything else. But Stefan's been nearly automatic in this game, just continuing to make the best play with his racks every turn. Grunt, definitely not the equity play, but a play I love. And if you're counting that as a mistake, I think you ought to reconsider your heuristics in this game quite a bit. Really good stuff from Stefan so far.
Yeah, I agree, Matt. Kind of a flawless effort from Stefan up to this point. Obviously, the tiles help, but he knows what to do with them. He's played the right type of play at the right time. He's just doing it again here with Vim, blocking the letters that go in front of Ute for bingos.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. One last ditch effort, I think, for Chloe here. She does have the case S, And if she plays fob and OBs right now, OBIS, she could potentially double double with like an EST bingo. So that could be 100 points, 100 points for her next turn. Probably still too little, too late, even if you score 20 this turn and 100 next turn. But one more Hail Mary that can be thrown out there for her before she throws in the towel on this one, 100%. There it is. Fob.
Yep.
That
Yep.
that
Nice
double
play.
line. I like it. Nice stuff. And we'll see if she's finally rewarded. Although I expect the way she's drawn like OOO or QP something to come out. Let's see. Stefan Avow just continuing to crush points. And hey, Chloe got a bingo. She even got a yay, she even got her double double. All right. A little consolation prize for Chloe as she drops the list bingo I nanist. That's going to be 87, and at least
Yeah,
make
this
this respectable.
Yeah, this is exactly what she was hoping to do like 7 turns ago or 6 turns ago. However, I've completely lost track of the amount of turns that she was struggling. This was supposed to happen a long time ago. It's nice that it happens to her now, but she's still a bingo down. The board is still very unfavorable, so it's kind of just a spread saving play, not really a game saving play.
Yeah, in Scrabble, you're supposed to smile when you bingo. Like you're supposed to have fun, and that is not a fun bingo. That is a consolation prize bingo if I've ever seen one. So, ugh. And Stefan picks up the second blank just when Chloe maybe had a shot. That blank was going to be crucial to her having any way of getting back into this. And alas, it is on Stefan's rack. So that's more or less going to be it for this one. Stefan with a big victory over Chloe on round 2 of this tournament.
Yeah, definitely. He's happy to score that win, given what I presume to be the lifetime record, which would be in his daughter's favor. This is the first step to equalizing.
The first of many. See, I'm
I
pulling up
guess.
the head-to-head now between these two.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
just going to pull up cross tables and see where things stand.
so this is game 16 between the two of them. Lifetime record before this one, Stefan 8, Chloe 7.
So he will actually remain in the lead. I guess, man, neither of us was taking into account that Chloe started playing Scrabble like as a young girl. She was, I don't think, even 10 years old when she started playing tournaments. And probably every time she faced off against her dad in those situations, the scales were tilted more towards the father than to the daughter. And only recently has that equation changed.
So checking this out, you're right. The first, let's see, the first 8 games played between these, Chloe's rating was in the 1400s and Stefan's was in the 16 or 1700s. And then sometime between the Albany tournament, where Chloe lost to her dad in round 1, that was the last day of 2021. And the next time they played, which was not even 6 months later, in June of 2022, Chloe's rating jumped from 1499 to 1800. Something must have happened in there. Wow. And ever since then, Chloe has clearly been the overdog in this matchup. Chloe took 5 straight over her dad once she hit 1800, but this is going to be 3 straight wins now for Stefan in the set since then. I'm sure he could rattle that number off from his head immediately. Definitely the kind of stuff he pays attention to. All right, man. Yeah, Stefan can do anything at this point. I would say do something exactly like this. Just make it tougher for overlaps. Don't open anything new that you don't have to. Oh my goodness, the unseen pool is absolute garbage. So maybe we wanted to hold that A, but it doesn't really matter. You've got the blank, you've got the lead. Just do something and get out of here and celebrate.
Yeah, I think he can just keep making sane, logical plays, and he should have nothing to worry about. Pay is exactly that.
So you see the unseen pool on display now. Not looking so hot for Chloe, and her chances of getting in. She's got to worry about that J, but also worry about bingo opportunities for Stefan once again. So just yikes, yikes, yikes across the board. Kelpie is a high scoring play that she'll have, making Pip and Annie at the bottom of this board for 41. Kelpie will set up joked or joking plays through the K, which is unseen. Stefan doesn't quite have it, but I don't think I could pull the trigger on it just because with that unseen pool, if the J is on my opponent's rack, he almost certainly is going to have joked or joking or something like that. And I can't give that up on top of everything else that's happened this game.
Yeah, that would be the ultimate final humiliation to just put the K out there and get smacked once again with a big play. Then again, it's a lot of points to pass up, and it does guarantee Chloe a 300 game, which is a not insignificant milestone for us Scrabble players. Is a psychological hurdle that gets broken down once you reach 300.
Hitting 300 always is a little consolation prize in a game where there's very little to feel good about for Chloe. Not necessarily that she did anything wrong, except just couldn't hit a fish to save her life. There's Kelpie. It's coming down. She has to know she's going to get hit by joking right now, but she's not. So I guess there's her consolation.
Yeah, there's a bit of consolation here that another worst case scenario didn't befall her, as they seemed to happen to her this entire game. So a little consolation. It's still going to be a loss, but at least it's not going to be a 200-point loss.
Yeah, it ended up being reasonably respectable at the end of this. Stefan is going to do his tracking. Chloe has emptied the bag with that play. So he's got to see that zoned is a possibility through the E in Kelpie, and then make sure that zoned does not get played by Chloe. I'm not seeing any other great options for the Z. You just got to make sure that one's taken away. Oh, Quackle, what are you doing? It's always fun to figure out what Quackle thinks is the best endgame sequence. And this one looks wild to me. Where does that go? Oh, very cool. Okay. So I'm not going to spoil it all, but we'll see if Stefan's able to come up with the best endgame here. It's wild.
Yeah, definitely. It's not one I would come up with. I also have access to the Quackle screen, and it's not my strong suit coming up with the crazy end games. I would definitely expect something conventional here, like just playing jived with a blank V through the E of Kelpie. Just, score some points, block the Z spot, and, who cares if you don't go out next turn?
Stefan is double checking his tracking, or perhaps his tracking is off. Perhaps he's double checking, but he is counting everything on the board. I would guess that he sees Jared right now, Jerid, through the E. And he's got to make sure that Chloe does indeed have like GODZ on her rack, and he won't get, surprise tripled on or bingoed out on. We know it's not there, but he wants to take his time, and he's certainly within his right to take his time at the end of a game just to make sure he doesn't blow it.
Yeah, I think we've come across these situations in end games before where the end game is won, and we're still seeing a player double checking their tracking. And I think it's a very reasonable thing to do if you're off, to make sure you don't make a game-losing play. I think most players can sympathize with the desire not to make a game-losing play. But when you're on the opposing side of it and you're just kind of waiting for the game to end, yeah, it can be a little tedious, but such is the life of a tournament Scrabble player. A lot of tedium.
But we've also got to point out it's 9:30 in Lake George right now, and they've got another game to play yet. So I'm snoozing right now. I'd be trying to catch a couple Z's before my next game kicks off.
Yeah, definitely. I played in the World Cup in Albany a couple months ago, and the first night of games was a Friday night, 3 games going until 10 or 10:30, and I blew an end game. I was just so tired. I was not thinking clearly. At least that's what I like to blame it on. But it's past my bedtime. Not operating on all cylinders, and lost a game because of it. So fatigue at this time, especially if somebody's just coming off a long day of traveling, it's a very real thing.
Absolutely. Hopefully, not a big factor in this tournament as it's only 15 games, but especially this first night, maybe so. Although Chloe, I will say, has had two rather thoughtless games, an autopilot victory and then an autopilot defeat. So I'm sure there's still tread on the tires in her brain. I'm trying to play with matchups for our next game and already peek ahead because this one's kind of a snoozer. I've heard that we may have to change things up. I think we're going to get some Jackson Smylie for everybody at home. It looks like we've got Jackson versus Jeremy Hall on cue. And that'll be our last game of tonight. Once again, the plan for tomorrow is our 4 morning games are going to be NWL games. I'll be joined by Jeffrey Pogue, and we'll do a little bit of Division 1, I think, but also definitely at least 2 games from Division 2. Just to highlight some different characters, show some different levels of play as well. And then tomorrow afternoon, we're hoping to we have Austin Shin coming on board, and we would never not do Collins if we have one of the best Collins players on the planet in the booth. So tomorrow afternoon will be CSW play. Chloe struggling to stay awake right now. You can see several yawns. Matt struggling to stay awake right now as well. Stefan does come down with a jiver. So optimal end game there was actually to not play the J at all. Optimal end game was Dryer, Drier, through that E to block zoned and holds on a JI blank to play Koji from the K next turn. So Quackle going to do Quackle things and think of that stuff. I'm sure, on a perfect day, I might think of that too, but not. Yeah, today may not be that day with the yawns going on and everything else.
Yeah, I would be hard pressed to come up with that one myself, especially with a big play. I guess we don't know. I guess that's probably a V for Jiver. With that sitting, staring at me in the face, just you've already won the game. Let's just make the obvious play and get on with it. And Chloe making the only other good Z play that I saw after zoned was block, which is just the straightforward zoo. Looks pretty good, gets her some more points, and it's as good as she can do given what she's got.
Stefan is not able to go out this turn, so he's going to have to dink and dunk in this one. But Chloe's going to have to do the same after she rushed that last play. So we'll see. We'll see several more plays get made here, but eventually Stefan's going to end up with some number of points and a W.
I'm curious to see if there's a shaking of hands at the end of this one. We did see the shaking of hands between Zach and Chloe in the first game. Curious if the father-daughter pair is on handshaking terms.
Handshake or a hug or a profanity. One of those 3 likely going to be what we hear here. We do have overhead audio. We're going to try to test that for y'all now, although the post-game banter is going to be nothing but "I'm sorry" from Stefan, if I had to guess. We'll still cut to that mic, see what we can get for y'all as soon as play is over. So ID for 8. Hey, it looks like they're laughing and smiling and having fun. You're not supposed to do that when you play Scrabble. No fun.
Yeah, that's disgusting display.
Yeah,
I'm
horrible
I'm
sportsmanship.
outraged.
Director.
Director, somebody's having fun.
Okay, so as soon as Stefan figures out he can play OR for 3 points, we will cut to overhead mic and go on from there. There it is. Good job, Stefan.
420 and 4. 353, 424.
Good game, good game, good game. I think it's, I don't like, it doesn't compare.
Spikelet, step like. I don't think
I don't,
like Kelpie is.
Yeah. Kelpie or Kelpie is
good.
Kelpie is good, but it doesn't compare.
Yeah, it's a noun. Kelpie.
Right, I knew it didn't compare, but I thought it was good, yeah.
And Cleve, I think, is good. Yeah.
Cleve is good, yeah. Cleve needs to cut. No, I was Toko, I was holding. I know. Thanks. Tea house, cat house, bat house? No, just tea house, cat house.
How's that? I mean,
house.
Ending in house.
Ending in house.
Tap house.
Tap house. Right.
Yeah, this is bad. I don't know. Like, I just have so
many vowels.
So long. And, like, this, I don't know. Like, I was keeping fine every time, and the bag just kept getting more and more consonant heavy. So you're like, eventually you're going to draw some consonants, and you get E-E-I-I-N-O-T 5 turns in a row.
Right.
Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, mine all. I mean,
I think it was this. I don't know. Like,
I mean, I was scoring. That's the problem. Was I you know, my ranks were good, and
yeah, it's not necessarily great. Like, there's not a ton of stuff that comes after. I mean,
GI.
It's not like it's not the easiest. I don't know. Like, the question was play A or
I know, or block
like,
a spot. I knew you were right. I knew you were deciding
but
there.
It kept worse. And this, it felt like this could score a lot sometimes.
Right.
Too. Probably not quite as much.
This just didn't feel like a lot. But did you keep two vowels?
ET.
ET. Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe just play erotica. Move one more. No, you can't.
I don't see the need. Like,
I don't see the need either.
There's this spot for like marginal.
It's a tie game. I mean,
it's
a tie game. There's no point. Yeah.
Erotica has hooks. I would.
Erotica has hooks. Yeah.
I don't know.
424-353.
Yeah.
So I think Chloe putting it as well as any of us could. I don't know. Sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes it just doesn't work, and that's what we saw today. Chloe's still able to make it respectable, 353 to 424, but a big win for the dad in the father-daughter matchup as Stefan and Chloe both now 1-1. We're going to cut to one more quick break before we bring you the last game of the day, day one of the Scrabble tournament in Lake George, New York. We'll be right back. I'm Matt Canik, joined by Charles Reinke. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. We got one more game of Scrabble for you today, and plenty more tomorrow and the day after that. Once again, I am Matt Canik, joined by Charles Reinke for day one of the Lake George Scrabble tournament. This will be the third and final game of today, and we are switching over. We're pulling Chloe off the limelight after she drew a EEIINOT about 7 times in a row, something like that. And we are going to feature Jackson Smylie versus Jeremy Hall in this last one. Charles, are you familiar with Jackson or Jeremy as players?
I would say I've probably played Jeremy more often than I've played Jackson. I actually remember playing Jeremy at the 2006 Nationals when we were both in Division 6. And Matt, I believe you were in that division as well. So Jeremy has risen up the ranks significantly since then, just like you and myself. But Jackson, obviously no slouch either. I don't know if he ever played a Division 6 at Nationals. But he's certainly not playing Division 6 now. He's contending at every Nationals he goes to. So it should be a good game.
Yeah, Jackson has famously won $10,000 twice, and he's looking to add to his career winnings today. Looks like Jackson has shed that cowboy hat that made several famous appearances, though now he's got a leather jacket instead. So we'll see. No hat, yes, leather jacket, and we'll see if this works for Jackson. Jeremy Hall will be going first, Jackson to respond second. Both of these players undefeated, and one of them, if not both, will be moving on to day two with the perfect record so far. So Jeremy to play first. You can see he's picked up a Q, which is not something he wants to see at all. But there is that pivotal I that he's going to need. Without that, we were looking at an exchange. Now, very standard. This is going to be QI. It's just a matter of how much time does he spend, and does he play it horizontally or vertically?
Oh, this is going to be bad news for Jeremy. If I'm not mistaken, infights is a word. And given conventional placement of chi, the response from Jackson will be swift and quite painful.
Oh my goodness. Infights is 101. Jackson is already setting it down. Ow. Well, okay. Jackson is showing us why he is Jackson Smylie. It looks like the clock may not be working. I'll have our crew on the ground check on that. But Jackson apparently takes 0 seconds to play infights for 101 and leads 101 to 12. And I hate this freaking stream. But alas, that's how this one starts. QI for 22, infights for 101, and play shifts back to Jeremy, who into that AORRS leave picks up CW. Oh,
and surprisingly enough, this rack of Jeremy's does make a few 8-letter words. Some obscure ones, but 8-letter words nonetheless. Unfortunately, does not have any of the letters needed to make an 8-letter word. You would need an A, a U, or a Y to play an 8-letter word out of this.
I'm not seeing any of those. Oh, it looks like he's going to try Carrows, Carrows. And hey, why not? Arrow has like 1,000 front hooks. Why not try one more? So that's coming down. Jackson has set a hold already. And Jackson usually doesn't instant challenge anything, but his word knowledge is very, very good, or it was over the summer when he was at his peak in a Nationals grind mode. So we will see. I doubt Jackson lets this stay on the board, but we'll see how long it takes for him to do that as we get our score widget and our clock widget adjusted. Jeremy's taking his courtesy tiles. For those less familiar with competitive Scrabble, if your opponent isn't sure your word is valid, you are allowed to draw your new tiles after 15 seconds. You just have to keep them separate from any tiles that you're keeping on your rack. Jeremy obviously not keeping any tiles on his rack. He's played all 7, so he can put them straight on the rack. But these will be revealed to Jackson and put back in the bag when or if Jackson challenges this. And there it goes. He stopped the clock, challenging Carrows, and Jackson could not have asked for a better start to this one. QI for 21, 101-point natural bingo back, and then a free turn on top of this. Wow.
Yeah, that is a rough start for Jeremy. And I do want to issue a correction when I was talking about 8-letter words. I actually had misread Jeremy's rack thinking two S's rather than two R's. So
Okay.
please disregard anything that I say on this stream going forward.
If you do want to disregard things that Charles says more frequently, Charles internet to talk about Scrabble with me during major tournaments. Charles is also a Scrabble streamer, so if watching Scrabble on the internet is your thing, Charles streams on Twitch. Charles, you want to talk just a little bit more about that?
Not too much to talk about. Basically, I just do Scrabble and anagramming games, stuff like that. On Twitch, I stream once or twice a week, more often once than twice, um, under the moniker Ancient Cosmographer. We'll see if we can get a link to that in the chat for you to look at. But if you're a viewer on Twitch and you like watching Scrabble content, go ahead and give me a follow. And we'll see you on Twitch.
Yeah. So check out Charles on Twitch for sure. There's a few other Scrabblers who stream, though not very many at this time. I think more and more people are talking about maybe getting into it. But yeah, plenty of Scrabble now on the internet for those newer to the game who want to learn. There are resources at your disposal. Now, Jackson has a tough situation. It's always so hard in Scrabble when you know your opponent's rack, because then you have to think extra hard about, you know, what you're giving back to them. And you want to make sure you're blocking the bingos. You want to make sure he doesn't have any available bingos. And man, it's just so tough. So Jackson, I expect to have a slow turn here as he really thinks all of this stuff through. How can I set myself up without setting my opponent up, and all that jazz. This is very hard. You can see he's almost kind of set up lineate on his rack, which does play through that I and in fights. Tinia would play through that as well, but those plays give back big opportunities for that W. I don't know how to approach this turn. Maybe align, ALINE, through the N and in fights. Do you see anything here, Charles?
The plays you just listed are definitely the ones I would look at first, just trying to make use of that Q again to score any amount of points. It would be my first inclination. And then the second thing there would obviously be try to avoid giving back large plays. Although if you somehow induce Jeremy to perhaps burn his S for 30 points or something like that, that actually might be a good outcome for you. So you might be able to make some sort of tactical opening that encourages Jeremy to do something that he might not want to do otherwise.
There's one play that Quackle seems to like quite a bit that makes some sense, and that's from the H in infights, playing Halite, Halite. Usually stacking on top of that play looks like an easy no-brainer, 25 or 30 points, but we know Jeremy's rack, and we know Jeremy will have no stacks that make any sense on top of Halite. So that is simming significantly ahead of any other option here for Jackson. We'll see if he thinks of it.
And credit to our production team, we now have clocks on screen that are working and counting down, so we know exactly where the players stand. So kudos to Josh and the team for getting that working again.
Yeah, thanks to Josh, and thanks to Josh Greenway for putting so much of this together. Again, Let's Play Scrabble.com, a branch out of Josh Greenway. A lot of this streaming and the streaming setup brought by him. He's done so much for the game, and for those of us who like watching along at home, kudos, shout out. We can't do it enough to Josh. And if you want to show your gratitude, once again, shameless plug, click that like and subscribe button. Share these links around today and tomorrow. Let's get people watching Scrabble. I think that would make Josh very happy if we can get that. Jackson is looking to make Jeremy very unhappy here. I think the big thing he's concerned about is Harrow, Harrow from the H. I think you want to try to block that. Halite does a good job of doing that. Ooh, this does a good job as well. It's going to force Jeremy probably to have to make a play like Crow and Wag or Crows and QIS, and both of those really tighten the board. I think Jackson also sees that S at the bottom of the board and EEILST. That's very bingo prone. So Jackson, rather aggressive here, block the best play. You know that S at the bottom of the board is going to stay available. Let's take a shot and try to bingo. And what has he pulled? He's pulled another I and another T. Oh, I always hate that when you have 3 duplicated letters, like a full house or 3 pair or something. Tough break for Jackson, but he will get through this. I'm certain he's ahead by 100 points and has perfect knowledge of his opponent's rack. Can't feel too bad about this one.
Yeah, the one bad draw when you're up by 100, you can withstand. You just hope it doesn't become lose games. Is just an extended run of poor draws. It looks like Jeremy has set up the non-existent crowbars through a B, just demonstrating to the viewers and to us that he is aware of that possibility, but it's not going to happen. And indeed, I was wrong earlier talking about how many bingos he had. He really only has that one if there was an open B. So no such luck for him. He's going to have to make a non-bingo play here. Definitely thinking about ways to make sure that the board doesn't become too closed. Right now he's okay. There's that S at the bottom plus the hook on Chi, the S that he has. Aside from those places, though, it's not a promising board for bingo, so he's going to be aware of that and try to address it.
Yeah, that QI spot could go away with an overlapping or underlapping play, rather, although most words Jackson makes there will also take an S. I don't think there's much else Jeremy can do on this turn except to play ROW here. You could play WAR in the same spot, score 3 more now, but likely Jackson's counterplays are going to score a little bit more as well. So, just keep the A and hope you bingo next turn and put this chapter behind you. So ROW, just 15 points for Jeremy, and he's picked up 2 additional A's and a C. That's killer for him.
Yeah, both players kind of drowning in the duplicates right now.
Well, that is not killer. Cascara is good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a special coffee at Starbucks once upon a time, though he's got Caracas set up instead. Uh-oh.
Yeah, Cascara would just be a very impressive find if he does find it. I would doubt my own ability to find that word. And Caracas, I think, is the capital city of Venezuela. My geography is so obviously the more natural is because that is a prominent world city. Unfortunately, not a valid Scrabble word.
And Cascara was a special drink at Starbucks for a while, but I don't know if it was special enough for Jeremy to order one. I bet Winter would find that. Yeah,
Winter, the member of our Scrabble scene who has perhaps drunk the most coffee out of all of us, given his enthusiasm for visiting Starbucks stores. I don't think Jeremy is his protege. I don't think Jeremy is that Starbucks obsessed. So words based off of the Starbucks menu might be slightly more foreign for him.
Man, Cascara's to the S is 95. Cascara plays in a number of other spots as well, but without that play, without knowing that word, your options are caca. Pun intended, but also you're probably gonna like CACA and TINEA looks to be the best play, and that sucks because it blocks the top of this board, which you're gonna need. You're already down 101 points. So you're going to have to find something else, maybe CACAO to the O in tro. I don't know. Without bingoing for 95 here, it is very hard to do something productive for Jeremy.
Yeah, definitely he does not want to disrupt the hooks on Tyne, the A and the S that he possesses, because that's one of his keys to getting back in this game is possibly bingoing in that spot. So something like Cacao to the O, it doesn't block any existing bingo lanes. It creates new ones that are actually somewhat tough to deal with. The C is a good tile to bingo through in a lot of cases. So if he can create new lines, not block existing lines, and keep some decent stuff, that's about as good as he can do, failing to find the very low probability cascaras. I had to look to make sure I was actually getting the bingo correct.
I think we're about to get a dog appearance, so apologies in advance, those of you who are familiar with me doing coverage. My dog, yep, there he goes. My dog Colby made some appearances, and now I have 2 dogs, so they're both going to make appearances once the Huskies get going. One goes in just a minute. Cacao going to be the play for Jeremy. A big missed opportunity, but man, who knows those words? Who studied words with these? That is deep, deep, deep in the book. I only know it because it was a special drink at Starbucks, and I don't think I would have pulled the trigger on it over a board either.
Yeah, I can say with basically 100% certainty that even if I saw it, I would not play it in a double challenge game. I would not be sure enough to pull the trigger on that one.
I would not play it in a 5-point challenge game because
certainly. Actually, that's a better way to put it. I wouldn't play it in 5-point. Maybe in double if I really need to bingo. So no fault to Jeremy for not seeing that one.
Yeah, those are tough. Jackson going to play CEILI. He has just not pulled well after that EEILT fishing attempt. When he played AE, it's just kind of gotten ugly for him. But luckily, Jeremy unable to respond, and he'll be unable to respond one more time here. There are no playable bingos for Jeremy.
Yeah, and with that S at the bottom getting blocked, that was certainly a place that Jeremy was hoping he would be able to get a bingo down. Looking at the hooks on Tyne, he has to really make sure those stay open. He can't do anything to disrupt those, but he does have a morals set up. At this point, he's probably, at least if I was in his position, I'd be so afraid of playing a second phony that I wouldn't try something I was unsure of. But maybe he's got a bit more fortitude than I do, and sees a word like this as his way to stay competitive.
This seems like at least the 5th or 6th circle of hell to me. I've already lost a turn on stream when I know a bunch of people are watching, and all I want to do is go hide my head in a hole. And now I have a rack here that looks very high probability as well that may or may not have a bingo in it. And I don't want to lose a turn and then also miss a bingo. And then I'd be thinking so many things and I'd be having a panic attack, just like Colby. So I do not envy the position Jeremy is in, independent of the game score. Colby, we're going to cut that out, okay? We're going to cut that out, okay? I know you want to make a cam appearance, but we're watching Jackson and Jeremy right now.
You should let Colby know that he can only make a camera appearance if he's a good doggy and not a bad doggy.
Yeah, good dogs don't bark a whole bunch during the stream.
So it looks like Jeremy has at least rearranged his letters to not spell amorals. He's put them in alphagram order, which is what a lot of experts do to basically evaluate whether they know whether there's a bingo there or not. And it looks like he is not going to attempt amorals. That's a good decision on his part. And I actually really do like this play of Alamo. Sets up another very easy bingo line for him. Scores basically as well as he can hope for, and keeps
this is
ARS.
exactly what you've got to do if you're Jeremy. You've got to score well, you've got to keep well, and you've got to open this board. And he does all of that just about the best he can in that play.
So switching back to Jackson has drawn the blank. Not great stuff to go with it, but he'll work on that, and we'll probably see another bingo from him in the next couple turns.
Yeah, he'll have a decision to make. Does he just try to play the equity game at this point? The game is handily in his favor, especially with this blank on his rack and another bingo coming soon. Does he just play the equity game? Does he try to worry about board shape and board dynamics? or does he just score a bunch of points and kind of win? Both of those, make some sense. Yeti down at the bottom looks to me like a pretty good play, just to the eye, and Sealy for 21. I think that's probably what I'd do here.
Yeah, I would be quite tempted just by playing off FEY, possibly next to Alamo. It actually forks the board even further, creating some bingo lines that are kind of separated, plus leaving the S at the bottom open to start with, and you're keeping EET blank. It scores a little bit less, but possibly more likely to bingo. It's a close call.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any reason to do anything except one of those two plays, probably, but either one of those makes sense. I hate Fs typically, but I think I'd hold it in this situation. I just like playing Yeti and saying, okay, you do something.
So Jackson does have Faye set up. It's 1.4 for Matt in Jackson making plays that one of us agrees with. Not that it's a contest. Yeah, I shouldn't count my points before he gets his play on the board and hits his clock. But I think either play works out well for him. There's still some power left in the bag, the J, the X, the Z, and he would want to avoid some kind of cheap high-scoring play to that triple at the bottom. So I see the merit of both plays.
And Charles just absolutely gave away where he is from for those who are not familiar with him. The tiles are in the what?
I don't remember what I said.
You said they're
You'll
in
have to remind me.
the bag.
Oh yeah, that's the Wisconsin accent coming out. I'm trying to put on my most neutral accent, but for these important streams, but it can't help but slip out every once in a while.
You're putting on your neutral accent and your play finding ability. Jackson has opted to go with Faye. You can have your points now, Charles. I concede.
Yep. It's Charles 1, Matt 0 for those of you keeping score at home, which should be all of you.
And if you're Jeremy, a play like this is killer. Like, I've worked so hard to open this board, but Java Intinia is just so good. But is it actually?
Yeah,
Because Jeremy just missed something absolutely filthy.
Oh wow! Oh my goodness, that is rough. I'm just seeing it now. We're talking about the play from the S and in fights, correct?
We're talking about the play from the S and in fights.
Yeah, Java was so good and so it achieved what he wanted to do. It kept ERS and it scored points, got rid of the J, but he had a bingo there with the V and the J.
Oh my goodness, that would have been over 100 points. Oh, killer. The bingo was Svarages, Svarajes, from the S in fights. Oh man, the old Scrabble adage, when you find a good play, find a better one. Java looked so obviously right. Java was not right. Oh my goodness, that's a killer.
Yeah, that is a for Jeremy, it's just one of those racks where you don't even look. It just so clearly is not a bingo rack that you don't even try. And that just you got to approach every rack like it could have a bingo in it until you're sure it doesn't.
Jackson's doing exactly what Chloe did last game, just drawing very bingo prone stuff and unable to not draw vowels and finish it out. So TIE for 5. I think maybe I would have played Egypt there. This board's already open, EEJIT, but whatever. Jackson will probably get a bingo pretty soon, maybe. He also crucially knocked out that pesky S at the bottom to stop the highest scoring bingo opportunities for Jeremy. And he can survive a smaller bingo with a little bit more ease. So Jeremy's going to come back, not with a bingo, but with a high scoring play, rowers down at the bottom. And that's also going to open this board up in a really nice way for him and an annoying way for Jackson. Vowers played for 7 more points from the V, but holds on to 2 R's. So Jeremy, looking to get rid of those triplicates, is going to play rowers, give up 7 points, but hold on to just 1 R here. Not sure which I would have done in that situation, but I definitely would have thought a little bit harder about it first.
Yeah, at first I was thinking, oh, I would not play the S off there. I'd play something like row next to Java and just keep going for that bingo. But 40 points. He's only down by 20 now. He doesn't know that Jackson has the blank. He's coming back into this game, on his own terms, not just dinking around for bingos. So the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking that's a play that I like.
Yeah, I think I would have played Vowers. I think I would have scored a little bit more, but this one makes sense as well. And this one's going to work out great for him. Vowers would have given Jackson bingos in response. This one does not. Jackson once again has missed bingos. After he played AE holding EEILT, he has missed bingos several turns in a row. And this is how a lead evaporates, is just draw absolutely terrible and draw 1-point tiles that don't score well. So this is killer for Jackson. I think we're going to see JEU for 10 on this turn. I don't know what else to do, honestly, for Jackson.
Yeah, I'm not seeing much either. I would honestly get rid of EGIU all at once. I would do it, but there's like nothing in the dictionary that will do that for you. So something like JEU. There's a lot of N's left, which makes the G a little bit better. Keeping it with the I think we've got 5 N's on the scene. So that might be as good as he can do. If he wants to get really creative, and this is certainly not an advisable play, he could do something like veggie from the V in Java, set up his blank, and pray that Jeremy does not have an S or a blank of his own to pluralize.
That's cute. I like that. He would get crushed, but oh man, yeah, this is killer for Jackson. We are going to have a good game on our hands, despite how this one looked at the beginning, infights in the last turn. Just Jackson's inability to draw anything reasonable into this rack. Jeremy's surged his way back in, and Jeremy's sitting on Pox and JO and AX for a ton. So Jackson might block that if he plays JEU. It looks like he's got TEGU set up right now on his rack. Oh, wow. He's just going to knock out this S. That is interesting.
Yeah, that is not something either myself or Matt came up with. But it does have some merit to ensure that if Jeremy does have a bingo, that it's not going to be too damaging. Do I think it's the right play? I'm honestly not sure. Maybe not. I still like JEU, but you can see what Jackson's thinking here.
He has pulled very well, so Jackson will finally get that bingo down, but not before Jeremy's going to actually take the lead briefly. Pox would put Jeremy ahead by 16 before Jackson going to bingo out of this nice rack. Jeremy also has Vapors from the V for the same score. That sets up and retains the X. So that's another option, but I think you have to play Pox holding ANRS here. Charles, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. You've got a tailor-made bingo spot on the left side of the board in the second column, hooking AY. And you're again keeping good, which we've seen Jeremy do a couple times and have it not work out. We hope it works out for him eventually. And there's just no reason to, at least I don't like keeping the X here when you've got a good score for it and can keep extremely bingo prone tiles.
If I'm Jackson here, I'm like, oh boy, I've got to have some nice overlaps there. I really want to pick the best one, but also I'm already down under 10 minutes on my clock, and we've still got half a game to play, and it's tight. So he's got to decide in his head, like, to what extent do I want to make sure I find the very best playable bingo out of this rack versus to what extent do I just find something that makes 3 overlaps and say, forget it, I'm going to play that.
Yeah, he's definitely got to be thinking about his time here. I actually haven't played Jax enough, don't know enough about his tendencies to know if he's usually aware of his clock, because I know some players sort of forget that their clock exists. They just hit it without looking at it. Here, he's playing relatively quickly, playing what must be at least tied for the highest score he has available, and not overthinking it too much, which I support given that he might need this time for an endgame.
And this is actually the only highest scoring bingo. Nothing scores better than this. Nothing scores the same amount as this. So if nothing else, there's that for this play. But Jackson crucially finding it quickly, putting it down quickly, and he's going to jump back ahead. He has finally pulled his bingo. And Jeremy's going to have a big decision to make in terms of shaping the board for the rest of this game. Big opportunities for him to score with that K. He can play through the N in Norites with something like Kinos, Kinos. He can just drop OK to the right side of Norites. That opens up huge opportunities for both him and Jackson. OK takes a back A and a back E, so big overlaps could be possible. He's still got the entire left side of the board after the sequence of Alamo and FEY. So there are bingo lines for him. He's got to figure out how much he wants to score right now. Kinos is 38, OK 26. How much he wants to give back to his opponent and how bingo prone he wants to keep himself this turn. I do not know what to do here. This is really hard.
For me, I'd be looking at the score and thinking I need to bingo. A bingo is a requirement for me winning this game, and so for me at least, playing off the S here would be off the table. The S would have to stay, and then once I decide that the S had to stay, and I sort of set it aside in my head as a tile not to be used, I'd be looking at keeping the best possible leave, and that would appear to be something like AINRS. And since he does have OK just for 26 ready to go, even though it does seem like it will give back a lot, kind of a painful amount in a lot of situations, it might be sort of a necessary evil to retain the S and keep a really good leave.
And that's what he's going to do. OK for 26 points comes down. Maybe I would have thought a little bit harder on that turn. KROON through the O in Norites looks to be a good option as well. It takes a back I and a back S. It holds onto an I. It holds AIS into a bag that is more than 2/3 consonants. Turns over an additional tile to try to pull the blank and forks the board. So a lot of those make it rather compelling. But 26 holding AINRS versus 28 holding AIS, just the sheer equity of this play is so hard to pass up. For the third consecutive game we've had on stream in Lake George, one player has drawn both blanks, as Jackson has now found the second one immediately after bingoing with the first one. He has ZORI to the I at the bottom, but that holds VEG. You really don't want to hold VG together. So he's also looking at maybe playing Vogie through that I, holding RZ blank. You can also see Jackson just holding REZ, and that's going to whack the entire right side of this board. Looks like he's going to go REV instead, thwack it even harder. I don't know if I like this, but I think I do. Charles, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I do. The Z doesn't have an immense amount of power on this board, but it always has some power, and he might be holding out for a Z play that he likes better. Rev is a great defensive play, does not give access to the triple because there's no two-letter words with a V. So, whereas playing Res does give some limited access to that triple. So I think I do like this. It's defensive, blocks the most dangerous bingo, or at least the highest scoring bingo spot, which was while giving nothing back and keeping the Z ignition later. And
I think I like it. I think you're right. I think I like it. wildly, Jeremy has pulled a great rack, aligners, nailers, renails. All three of those play in the second column, making SAY, but one of them plays in a very sneaky spot. Aligners plays with Jota and Axel, and SI, three overlaps for 84. And Jeremy must spot this bingo. Otherwise, I think he just kind of rolls over and loses. Every other bingo gets hit with big counters. Well spotted by Jeremy. That is very hard to see with the overlaps. And he has spotted it. 84 points is going to put him back in the lead. Jackson's got to be gulping just a little bit like, oh man, I've sacrificed so much this game to try to block the board. I've had everything I need, and I'm losing still. Oh my goodness. Jackson will have Zoril or Zori on the bottom side of the board through the I and Smylie. But this is a game. This is a game when I did not think it was going to be a game. After the infights, after the lost turn, I don't think Charles or I thought we were going to be at this point. But here we are.
Yeah, definitely grateful to the players for making this game a bit more exciting for us commentators. We don't like to commentate blowouts. We don't like to commentate games that are over after 5 turns, which this one appeared to be hurtling towards the same fate. So kudos to Jeremy for staying tenacious, making the right plays, Alamo, Pox, okay, rowers. It's all worked out for him, and he's in the lead.
Is in the lead just briefly, though Zoril's going to put Jackson back ahead, and that GN blank leave is going to be very nice for him. But vowels are at a premium here in this game, especially seeing 4 of them on Jeremy's rack. Jackson in serious danger of drawing 3 or 4 consonants here. And if he does, he'll miss a bingo once again, and this could be a very frustrating game. That A is huge for Jackson, that U as well. So Jackson likely now going to bingo. Big break for him.
Yeah, meanwhile, Jeremy has 2 U's on his rack. That's going to be tough to deal with, and he's got limited stuff in the bag. He's got limited turns left in this game to extricate himself from this. So
we'll display the unseen pool from Jeremy's side. 19 unseen, including that scary blank. 5 vowels, just 5 vowels, plus a Y. So Jackson could be rather unbalanced here, but Jeremy is still a long shot to win this game at this point with this terrible rack and a deficit.
Yeah, my first thought would be tedium or something to clear off some of the song here with the game sort of coming to a close. Might not be what he wants to do. Then again, I'm not seeing exactly what he would want to do, so possibly that's still an okay option.
I think he needs to play Tum to the right side of aligners. There's only one unseen E to him, and he's setting up his E. So I think you take that shot, you hold D, actually a very good leave with this unseen pool. Play off the D if I can. There's 3 more Ds in the bag right now. But I think I like playing TUM. He plays MU in the same spot. I like trying to be aggressive and set up that E, set up a scoring spot. But this, depending on what he draws, could work out just fine for him. And N would be great.
Yeah,
oh my god. Am I good? Did he just draw D10U?
Yeah, that worked out for him.
What did I say? He needs an N. He got it. Jeremy's now going to bingo. And Jackson is not.
Jackson does not have a playable 7-letter word. We thought when he was drawing his last tile into Gaunt plus a blank that he couldn't miss. But that was just at first glance. Clearly, when you draw the P to that rack, yeah, you do miss. And he has to decide what he wants to do here. He has to think about what Jeremy's play means. Was Jeremy's play a fish? Was he just overloaded with U's? He has to make a decision, and what he decides in terms of what Jeremy's play means will sort of guide his play. Is he going to be more defensive on this turn? Is he going to try to block the bingo line next to Faye because he thinks that Jeremy's got something, or is he not going to worry about that? So I'm curious what Jackson does here.
any bingo that Jeremy plays will give Jackson at least a few floaters to play through. So Jackson, if he can stay very dynamic with his leave, hold like ANT blank, ANG blank, there's a good chance he just bingos right back should Jeremy bingo. Or there's a chance he just bingos. You know, if Jeremy doesn't bingo, he's got some lines available. I think Jackson was looking at playing putts to the Z in Zoril. Now it looks like maybe he's thinking about Pogue instead. Maybe Pug and GAY in the second row. There's a lot for Jackson to think about, and he's quickly running out of time. There's also a lot of duds in the bag for him to draw. We'll see if we can get that unseen pool on display for Jackson, or from Jackson's perspective. There are 10 tiles in the bag, and that is an interesting one for sure. So it doesn't look like a bingo is very likely in this pool, and yet a bingo is exactly what's about to come down on Jackson as he plays Pugs, ANT blank, and let's see what he draws. D, Y, D. Yes, so of those 4 Ds in the bag, Jackson has found 2. I don't think he's going to bingo again, and Jeremy going to play D10U here. Wow.
Yeah, Jackson's rack does not make any bingos, even with the addition of a second blank. So nothing Jeremy can give him will give Jackson a bingo. And so that's kind of a worst case scenario for Jackson, although he might not be aware of it.
7 tiles in the bag, so Jeremy's bingo will empty. Jeremy's got to know, if I get bingoed back, I lose. Otherwise, I almost definitely win. That's what Scrabble comes down to sometimes. So I think he wants to look and figure out the place makes the most sense. I think it's with EF. I think you just grab the points here, so that you know you're going to win any game that you don't get outrun. You also kind of muck up that AY spot. So, like, you know, depending on the pool, maybe ING type stuff, ED stuff won't come down.
That's actually a very important consideration is if he does figure out sort of what sorts of bingos Jackson might have, he has to figure out where those are most likely to play. And that's probably at this point more important than what he scores.
Yeah, let's get the pool up. Well, he's going to make his play. I don't think it matters at this point. But yeah, this is what he's looking at. He's just got to hope he doesn't get bingoed back on. And Jackson found a way to grab defeat from the jaws of victory in this one. It just felt like he was going to absolutely run away, and he missed and missed. He's got to be thinking about some of these fishing plays he made. Maybe I needed to score more. Maybe I needed to play off more tiles. You know, maybe TIE for 5 was crazy because it allowed a 50-point play that also opened the board. That play of Tegu is definitely one he's going to think about. We might get some good post-game banter from this one, so y'all don't go anywhere. Y'all don't close out just yet. This is Jeremy's game, but I want to hear what Jackson has to say after this one. These are educational moments, folks. Best endgame sequence Quackle is finding is playing Teddy or Nettie through the E and D10U, but none of those are going to be enough to win Jackson this game. He's still going to lose by 15. Take.
Yeah, the only hope is that Jeremy plays another phony, but the first phony we saw from him of Karos, that was perfectly understandable. It was early in the game. He was faced with a big deficit and wanted to bingo. Certainly a phony in the end game would not be as defensible and would be very sad for us to see. We like to see these upsets from time to time.
And so Jeremy Hall is going to finish 3-0, though with the spread likely less than plus 100 after the first day of play in Lake George. I'd be ecstatic to be 3-0 in this field, even if my spread is plus 3. I'd take anything at this point. A win is a win in a tough type field, especially if I can get one over Jackson on day one. That is huge.
Yeah, Jackson's going to be one of the main competitors to win this thing, and so if you can give him a loss now, he'll be, one game further back from you later on in the tournament. Or I guess in this case, two, because Jeremy gets the win.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's sort of like the feeling you get when you're at a nationals and Nigel Richards like loses 2 of his first 6, and you're just like, that makes everybody's life a little bit easier.
It's also terrifying because, instead of the usual suspect at the front, Nigel's going to make his comeback. And so you have to worry about the guy in front of you, but also always be looking in that rearview mirror.
Right. Yeah. Never can count out Nigel. Definitely can't count out Jackson either. He'll still be 2-1 with some decent spread backing him up. So it'll be an interesting day 2 and an interesting day 3 for sure.
Definitely. Now, for those of you jumping in a little bit later, I do want to remind we have additional coverage coming up. Tomorrow morning, we will do Division 2 and Division 1 of NWL play. And we'll have CSW in the afternoon. Make sure we hit like and subscribe to this Let's Play Scrabble. That is where we will have coverage again tomorrow. I'm going to confirm. I'm pretty sure we start at 9 o'clock Eastern time, but I'm going to confirm with our ground team. 9:30 Eastern time, 8:30 Central for those of you watching at home. So 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. That's where we'll be back. I'll be joined by Jeffrey Pogue in the morning session. Again, a little Division 1, a little Division 2. I've notified a bunch of Division 2 players that they may be on the stream and they have to play for it today. So those with good records may earn the spotlight. Those with good records may have forced themselves to be in the spotlight, depending on their perspective on things. But I am happy to see we got an interesting game, kind of a snooze fest those first two. But Jackson, doing whatever Jackson did in this one, made this very interesting. This is one he's definitely going to go back and think about for a while. Lots to be learned.
And it looks like his time is dwindling down to almost nothing. Every fraction of a minute you go over in Scrabble, you lose 10 points. So he's now ticked over that 0-second mark. His score is now 340, and that just makes any end game shenanigans that he can pull off that much harder. But he wants to make sure he's not missing a bingo. He wants to make sure he's not missing a really good play through the D of Detenu, however you say that. Because if he does manage to find a bingo here, he wins regardless of the time penalty. So it's worth going over to double check.
And I don't know that I've ever seen Jackson go over his clock once in his life. But, even if you take 2 or 3 extra minutes, if you find a bingo, you win. You can take 5 extra minutes. A bingo still wins because Jeremy has such a bad rack right now. We know it's not there, but again, Scrabble's always much easier with an anagrammer open. When did Jackson take off the leather jacket? Because he is not wearing it anymore. I wonder if he took it off and then everything went to hell for him right after.
Yeah, that must have been the source of his power. And clearly the source of his power was not the cowboy hat that we've seen him in before. Because he won. Actually, we don't know, Matt. Do we know if he was wearing the cowboy hat for the first 2 games? Maybe it was the cowboy hat.
I do not know what Jackson was wearing this tournament. I do know the cowboy hat triggered like a huge losing skid that knocked him out of contention at the Scrabble Players Championship. We even joked he should exchange hat. We're getting word from our team Jackson has had no cowboy hat all night tonight. But I do wonder when he shed that jacket. Somebody in chat, go back, find it, let us know. Did everything turn south for Jackson when he took the jacket off? Or did he take the jacket off after things went south? The big questions.
Currently, it looks like the only thing we're getting from chat is that Jackson has cool hair, which, while true, was not the question that was posed.
Now I kind of want to grow my hair out.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Speaking of cool, I want to give a shout out to Jeremy's shirt real quick. Super Mario. Nice.
Yeah, can we figure out what's on Jackson's while we wait for him to continue to go over on his clock? Is it a frog? Is it a frog with a crown? I can't quite tell.
Knowing Jackson, it's something bizarre that makes no sense. Okay, so Jackson took the jacket off at 79 to 154, probably right after like this Farage's miss or somewhere in there. So
We're
maybe that
we're
was
getting a
Jackson.
zoom in. We're getting a zoom in on the shirt.
Is that like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, maybe?
Or like a bootleg Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, like not quite licensed
It's a
replica.
mutant Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Thank you, production crew, for the insightful look into his choice of clothing.
Didy Nast.
We give him points for creativity.
Dynast. That's what it is. Having two rulers or two dynasties. So that's going to be 0 points. And Jackson, in a game that he could have lost by 14 and probably could have won if he played the first few turns differently, is going to end up with a massive loss.
Yeah, this one is coming off as we knew and expected. I think if we had seen it stay on, we would have said something, right? We would have pleaded with the production crew to double check the Ziziba that they were typing into.
Right. Well, I probably would have said nothing and just laughed. So Jackson going to lose a turn. No playable bingos there. When it rains, it pours. And now Jackson with the 40-point penalty, if not more, coming his way and losing a turn. Man, this is really just tailspun for him. This is rough.
Yeah, this would be a completely different game if instead of those two Ds that he drew, he possibly drew one more vowel. Just something that would allow him to bingo or even score well after detenue. But he just drew the exact right stuff to make it impossible.
It's just wild. After Jackson played Zoril holding NG blank so bad to him, and Jeremy bingoed anyway. Like, I wonder how many playable bingos even existed, what the opponent's bingo percentage was. Granted, Jeremy's not on a neutral rack. He's just played 2 tiles and fished. All right, so he's playing hand, holding Bob. Nice.
Yeah, Jeremy might be just taking some insurance to make sure he's not giving anything back that he doesn't see. Although at this point, I think a bingo from Jackson would not actually win the game given the time penalty.
Yeah, now that Jeremy's had time to play off some of these tiles. But now Jackson can't play Teddy or Nettie because he gives back Bob for 1,000,000 points. He'll have to play Daddy. So 39 for Daddy. It's going to give Jackson a little bit more, but he's going to lose a lot more than that from his time penalty in this game. This has been wild. This is not something I expected to see, for sure. Jackson's really got to go back and think about some of those intermediate turns. And we see 2 games in a row, Jackson and Chloe, 2 very good players, getting by drawing vowels into a bunch of 1-point racks and just being unable to do anything as their opponents just drop point after point after point. And that's what happened here. We're going to cut to our overhead mic real quick and see what we can catch from these guys.
412, 446 before the time. So there's a rule that if you misscore something 3 times, your opponent gets an extra minute. Do you mind if I invoke that rule?
No, that's totally fine.
All right. So mine is 40 instead of 50?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't blame you. I usually don't do that. my mind is just. I really thought there's like a 70% chance you're gonna have a bingo because it just opens so many doors.
Yeah. I mean, obviously,
I thought it was just simplest just to,
you probably have to go for it. That's what I was hoping for. I intentionally left 7 in the bag, hoping that would happen because I kept A and T blank, so I figured my odds were pretty good. But yeah, man, interesting game.
We're down by 20 with this. I'm not really gonna. Bingo. I'm not really gonna do much. So.
Yeah. Interesting. Super tough game, man. No easy turns.
I don't know about Harrows. I guess Harrows. I should have just played Harrow and moved on. But.
It's all right. I happen to have like a mnemonic for all of those, so I was
Harrows,
100% sure.
Yeah,
man. I was feeling pretty good that game.
I almost stupidly missed that.
Oh yeah? Yeah, I was wondering what took so long with that.
Yeah. As soon as I saw it, I'm like,
yeah.
All right, well, I think that's more or less the end of this post-mortem. Jackson, I think, a little bit baffled that he ended up losing this game and losing rather badly. Though Jackson also, maybe an educational moment, teaching if your opponent misscores 3 times, you get an extra minute on your clock. So, hey, now you've all got that. I'm going to remind everybody that Let's Play Scrabble is going to feature days 2 and 3 of this tournament as well. We will be back here at 9:30 Eastern Time, 8:30 Central, some really early hour for you West Coast folks. Charles will be gone tomorrow, but will be coming back on Sunday to guide us through the finals of whatever lexicon. Tomorrow morning, I'll be on with Jeffrey Pogue doing 4 NWL games. Tomorrow afternoon, I will be on with Austin Shin doing all CSW action. And since we've got it here, we're going to invoke Dog Cam. This is the new dog, not Colby, his brother Soren. And Soren is ready to go pee. So thanks for sticking around to the end of the stream. For those of you who did, you got Dog Cam. We will see all of you back here bright and early tomorrow. Share this on your social media, put it around. Let's get people watching Scrabble on a Saturday. And of course, Charles, thank you very much for your time today. It's always a pleasure. And we'll see plenty more of you on Sunday.
Yep.
With that,
Thanks,
we're going to wrap up our coverage
Josh.
for today. We will see y'all